What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to y'all as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one. And we appreciate your support in getting us this far. And of course, check out our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, today we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by the mayor, Chris Thomas. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Soren. Hi, it's great to be on your show.
Yeah, man, it's an honor and a privilege. I grew up in Maryland, so I was very familiar with you both on TV and in person. I actually got to see you on Route 1 in Laurel at the Comedy Club there.
Comedy Connection.
One time with Paul Mooney. Yep.
Oh, yeah, Paul Mooney.
And they told me, my boys told me, make sure you sit behind us because they're gonna light you up. So I did.
Yeah, that's funny.
But we'll get to that story a little bit later too in more detail. But one thing from reading about you, seeing some of your interviews over the years, one thing I was always interested in was that as a young kid, you actually believed in Superman, like for real.
I did.
So why and how did it not connect with you that was not real?
Well, imagination is everything. It's more than that's really what makes the world go round, have an imagination to be creative. And when I used to watch the old Superman, not the new ones, the ones back in the 60s, I actually thought that was real. So I made I said that when I got the school bus always stopped in front of my house. So I said, I'm going to get off this school bus. I'm going to run upstairs, come out through the roof. I'm going to have a towel. I don't care if they know who my identity is. I'm not wearing no glasses. And I jumped. And I was airborne for around 2 minutes. No, for around 2 seconds. And but that's what keeps me creative. Everybody has to have some type of imagination.
Mm-hmm. And then what was that reality when you hit? How did that change you?
I'm not trying that again. Maybe he knows something I don't.
Right. But then did anybody, like your parents, any adults, did anybody around you like talk to you about it? Like what was the conversation?
Well, since I was so young, I guess they was like, well, I guess he'll never try that again because I broke my arm. And wearing that cast for almost 2 months. I didn't like that. And then, and it was one of those casts that was made out of, I don't know what, a quick drying cement. Mm. And when they cut it off, my arms were so dirty and ashy, and I never tried it again until I tried to be the $6 million man.
Well, what happened with that?
I chipped my knees that time. It was like I don't know. Everybody has some sort of imagination. It's like with violence. Some kids think that shooting, or like in a cartoon, they're gonna brush it off and get back up. My imagination was basically trying to save the world. I believe in a better good.
Right. And what, as a kid, what were you thinking of saving the world from at that time?
Well, about the same as going on now, but a little bit worse. I grew up in Baltimore at that time, so it wasn't a good Baltimore as it isn't a good Baltimore now or a good D.C. But then later on, I started doing impressions, in high school and junior. Actually, in elementary school, I used to do impressions, and that was really cool.
Mm-hmm. And isn't that because I later found out that it was actually you doing the Howard Cosell voice for the then Washington Redskins, right?
Yes, I was. I was doing the voiceover. This is Howard Cosell, of course. Let's think about the wonderful things in the Washington Redskins. Right there, you saw Joe Theismann throw to Art Monk for a touchdown.
Yeah, Art Monk was one of my favorites, man.
Hey, same here.
He was also
I'm really crazy. I'm really messed up about the new name.
what in what regard?
Because how do you fight the Commanders and the Cowboys on the same team? I mean, I thought that they should be called the Washington Brave Boys.
Fair enough.
You know, it was always the Cowboys versus the Indians.
Uh-huh.
And it cannot be the Commanders versus the Cowboys. They on the same team.
That would make it confusing.
It makes it confusing.
But I did wish like the G League or the D League team with the Capital City Go-Go's, I wish they could have done something that would have been a little more representative of the region, at least for me.
Exactly. Well, it's a lower league other than the Wizards. Oh, you're talking about football. You're talking about basketball, correct?
Yeah, there's the Capital City Go-Go's.
The Go-Go League.
I just wish they had something that was more reflective of the region as opposed to the Commanders.
Go-Go.
That would be nice.
Oh, well, that would have been what, the Washington Go-Go's?
Well, no, I'm just saying something, but anyway, I was just curious. But
right.
Given you were living in Baltimore, I know you were born in North Carolina, spent a lot of time in Maryland, time in D.C. What was making you guys move so much?
My father was a school teacher. He taught chemistry until he ended up at the National Institute of Health. He used to work with Dr. Fauci.
Oh, really? In Bethesda?
Yes, he did. In Bethesda.
Wow.
I used to go to the laboratory with him. So I always told everybody to get their vaccination so I don't have to take mine.
Fair enough. How'd that work out for you?
I didn't have to take it.
All right.
You know, some people don't get it. So my doctor and people say, you just don't get it. You know, you're very healthy. I've been a vitamin man. If I got sick, something is really wrong.
All right. Yeah,
I don't tell people don't, but I had a buddy who didn't have 3 of the boosters and he has COVID now.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in vitamins. They're good for supplementing your diet.
Yeah, exactly. And a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses.
Yeah.
Very for valuable. Iron and magnesium.
It's very valuable.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, with your dad being a teacher, my dad actually is ironically a teacher as well. He taught at Bowie High School. But with the teacher background and your imagination, fortunately for me, my parents were very encouraging me to get into rap and to listen to go-go and go to shows. What was the relationship like for you? Did your parents encourage your comedic aspirations, or how did that work?
My father didn't want me to be an entertainer. My mom was pretty much for it. My father wanted me to go to the service like him. He felt that men became better men if they went to the service. He used to tell me every day, you ain't shit. I was to say, like father, like son. He said, you'll never amount to anything. I said, did you? We used to go back and forth, but my father loved, I guess they didn't understand what they saw on television. They thought that they were a different group of people. And to have one in their own home who was getting work just through me doing impressions. In high school, I used to get paid $500 to do assemblies in high school.
Wow.
And I was on the morning announcements.
Well, that's a lot of money back then. Yeah, that's a lot of money now for a kid to get. So how did you manage your money, if at all, or did you?
I didn't. I spent it. I spent all of it. But I've been consistent with making it.
It's a good balance.
Exactly.
I
would agree.
It's a necessary balance. So as you're doing that, I know you eventually started getting managers and different things, but when you would go out for auditions, given that you're naturally funny, were you worried? Were you worried about not being funny enough or not being the right type of funny? Like, what was your mindset as you started doing some of these Saturday Night Live big time auditions?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what happened with Saturday Night Live. I went to audition for Saturday Night Live, and this is what they told me. They said, young man, Chris, we just hired this guy named Eddie Murphy. And if we didn't hire Eddie Murphy, we would have hired you. And I never came back to audition again.
Yeah.
I mean, when I went to audition, I didn't know it was what type of, sometimes, you fit in, you get in where you fit in. And I wasn't, my comedy style was basically just telling my stories. It wasn't really based on what type of show Saturday Night Live was. But when they heard my impressions, they had hired Eddie Murphy. And at that time, they weren't hiring too many black cats at the same time.
Right. I think that's a striking change. Not that things are where they need to be, obviously, but back then it was like, if I remember correctly, it'd be like it was just him. So it was one black comic on the show. There wasn't quote unquote room to have two.
There wasn't room for me. Well, I mean, I can understand, those who invented the entertainment field, and now they have so many outlets for many entertainers. They can do 1,000 Saturday Night Lives, but they will always be the first. So I didn't really feel bad about it because it didn't stop me from progressing. In fact, they gave me more energy, and I wasn't using that to move forward. Black entertainment television kind of gave me my own little history, through the Rap City show.
But before that, though, you did the Tougher Than Leather tour?
Yeah, I was the host of all the rap tours. I'm the one who basically brought hip hop brought comedy to hip hop. I kind of brought it on a national level because I was a host and my job was to stop people from fighting. So I had to keep them laughing.
So I was too young to, unfortunately, have gone to the Tougher Leather tour, but I remember the advertisements for it, knowing that you were on it. But so did you do in between every set, like you did something, or how did it work?
Well, in the beginning, I would come out and do my impressions, and I quickly developed to do some type of rap myself. I would use one of the S1Ws named Mike Love from the group Public Enemy. And I brought a gold chain, and I would get on and I would start off, A is for apple and J is for Jacks, cinnamon toasted apple Jacks. It was more of hip hop comedy than anything, but people were laughing. And I was on tour with them a very long time, which I ended up doing a video with the group Public Enemy called Night of the Living Bassheads.
That's one of my favorite videos of all time. So I got a lot of questions for you with that. Right. But before we get to that, though, how was, given that Public Enemy, because I saw them on the Fear of a Black Planet tour. That was my first concert at the Capitol Center. Right. Landover, Maryland, of course.
Landover, Maryland.
Yes.
So you should have saw me because I was basically the host of all those tours.
Yeah. But I didn't see the Tougher Than Leather, though.
Right, you didn't see this. That was Tougher Than Leather, and after that was the Public Enemy tour. Mm-hmm. Then it was the Heavy D's tour, and that's when Trouble T-Roy fell off the ramp. So I was the host of all of those tours.
Yeah, he passed for the Fear of a Black Planet tour because I remember it was I think it was Indianapolis, but it was only 3 or 4 shows before that.
Right, exactly, before he fell. I saw him fall. Will Smith saw him fall.
Wow.
Tupac, that was his buddy. Mm-hmm. So they were basically hanging out during the tour. So it was, and it was devastating to Heavy D because I can remember everything that he had said while we was at the hospital waiting what was going to happen with him.
What was he saying?
He was saying, what am I going to tell this kid's mom? That's all he kept saying. What am I going to tell? So Tupac was sobbing like that was his baby brother. Flavor Flav, he had a sandwich and he was like, the doctor said, talk to him because his skull is cracked. You got to say something to him. I remember him laying in the emergency room with his eyes wide open, but he was gone. And Flavor Flav was yelling, "Come on, Chubba Cheroy, get up, man. Come on, man, get up. I'll give you $100. And that's about all that after the tour was over, because we had just started. We were supposed to be in at the Superdome in New Orleans. I still have the advertisement for that. So it was kind of crazy during that time, because it's almost like the movie Final Destination. He pulled his chest muscle, and here was something he wasn't even doing. The guy pushed the trash can down the ramp, and it turns towards him. He's trying to lift his legs up for a brief second so he can go by. And it was his demise.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It was. I mean, with a kid being so young, and he wasn't doing anything. But the only thing, I guess, he then really, I guess he understood that the ramp at Market Square Arena didn't have no back support. But he didn't cause it that day. That guy who pushed that trash can is the one that caused him to lift his legs up.
Right. Man.
It's sad. It's still sad because I can still see it.
Wow. That being said, that's crazy. But on a somewhat related note, the thing that intrigued me about you doing the work with Public Enemy on the tour before we get to Night of the Living Bassheads,
right,
is that given that Run DMC was very in your face, confrontational, obviously Public Enemy is as well. How and why do you think that worked? Because the way rap people perceive now, everything is so segregated and regimented, like, oh, you're Southern rap or you're drug rap or you're positive rap or whatever. Whereas back, I want you to explain to people back in the 80s how it used to work, where you could have such a diverse group of artists touring at the same time. So.
Well, back in everyone they had their own self-identity. You know, words mean a lot, especially when you continue to say the same words over and over and over and over, just like in a melody or an R&B song or in a rock and roll song. I love you, I love you. And it tends to be repetitious when you hear, even though they're different, you hear the same type of lyrics come out of somebody's mouth. So the difference between Public Enemy, that was talking about life, which shows you that it's not like it is now. It may seem like it was much worse back during the 80s and the 90s, but it wasn't. That was a good time. Now, the way rap is structured, they're telling the truth. They live on the streets, gang banging. Back in the day with go-go as well as hip hop, they were still talking about gang banging, but it hasn't reached the intensity where people just randomly run out and just shoot somebody over a weekend span, or go to a movie theater, or just, you know, everybody was kind of cool because I guess things had opened up. Black entertainment television basically started. Cable is on television, so we're not looking at 5 channels. We're looking at a whole bunch of channels. So we had things to do. So you're right, Soren. The difference is, I guess, just like languages. It's what you understand that sells.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you have to live in a gangbang world to understand what gangbanging is.
Right.
Even though you might buy the music, but you have no clue on what it is. Public Enemy was talking about politics, controversy, Black people stand together, united. And believe it or not, it was a lot of white kids that brought the tickets at the shows. And that was the interesting things that when I looked out, I saw more white kids than I saw Black kids.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Your MTV Best with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.